What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
And we're back. One Piece 1115 is out. And with it comes more of Vegapunk's message and the underwater reveal of a sunken continent or country. Is this the ancient kingdom, or is it just a generic placeholder stand-in for the dozens or hundreds of lands lost to the sea? Now, 200 meters is huge, and for context, that is 600 feet or 3 leaning towers of Pisa stacked on top of each other, 2 statues of Liberty stacked, and 1 St. Louis arch that the whole world has been flooded by. Oars from Thriller Bark had a nickname, the Continent Puller or the Country Puller, and it was implied that he was alive during the Void Century. He was 67 meters. Could he have been trying to save or move islands during the floods? If certain islands like Shandora were important to Imu, I could see them being moved to hide them from him. Imu may not have known where Shandora was placed until Nolan told the king of Livneal about the City of Gold, prompting the king to mention it to Marijua, and then boom, right after, no more Shandora. Now, I would love to find out at one point that there actually was a world map and that Nami's dream ties to something the world truly needs because of what happened 800 years ago. But the main topic of today is the original Joy Boy, and we are going to double down on an idea that I've had for a few years now, that the original Joy Boy was not a human, and how all of this ties to the mythology of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Also, big shout out to everybody who watched, commented on, and shared the Luffy lineage video, because it did reach our goal. We got that video to be our very first theory to hit 100,000 views. No other theory on the channel has done that. The first 10 minutes of it also hit 500k views on TikTok, which is wild, at Randy Troy TV, if you want to follow on TikTok. And we have a new channel milestone, 40k subscribers. So thank you, everybody. Let's get into the lore, but first, like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Unlike Luffy, I have always believed that the original Joy Boy was not human. Giant, Buccaneer, Mink, Lunarian, Snake, Ancient Oni, whatever, anything but human. And at this stage, I am leaning heavily towards him being a monkey, perhaps even a monkey mink, or maybe the first ever mink. These are in on the silhouette that Oda gave us for Joy Boy. Now, this could be a part of his deity flame or sash, yes, but that also could be what Oda wants you to think until he reveals that that is in fact a tail. Big clue here is what comes immediately after Oda gives us the Joy Boy silhouette. Zunisha, followed by Carrot and the Minks. This creates a subconscious narrative link. Pay attention to an old whodunit horror movie. First person to react to a character's death might be the killer. We already know that Joy Boy and Zunisha had a connection, but could the Mokomo Dukedom's location being on top of Zo have a deeper layer? I've always felt the story needed another Chopper-like character, some sort of inversion, someone who dances between worlds, not quite human, not quite whatever species they were born as, and mythology supports me on this. One of the inspirations of One Piece, just like Dragon Ball, is Journey to the West, or the story of Sun Wukong, also known as the Monkey King. Luffy's full name, Monkey D. Luffy. He wants to be king. Now he is also the sun god. When Luffy transforms into his sun god form, he has white hair and red eyes, just like the Minks when they go Su Long. Sun Wukong, Su Long. The additional L could potentially be colloquial, but the rest of the letters function as a portmanteau. Etymology aside, the particulars of the story are curious as well. Sun Wukong was born from a giant egg, which could tie to the giant egg on Roger's ship, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. That's just a fun connection. The Monkey King was born and immediately was granted a high human-like intellect. Should Joy Boy turn out to be an everyday monkey who stumbled upon a human fruit just like Chopper, this would track. He was dared to scale or jump into and inspect a roaring waterfall by his monkey peers, and when he complied, he became their Monkey King. Now, this reflects the famous koi mythology that the Pokemon Magikarp and Gyarados are based on. Spark noting this, but essentially whichever koi could swim up and scale the waterfall would be turned into a dragon by the heavens, hence why Magikarp evolves from a fish into a dragon. But Oda also referenced this with Kaido, who turns into a dragon but ate a variation of the fish fruit. I guess you couldn't be Joy Boy either could relate to Oda's love of mixed messaging. If the story of Sun Wukong and the Koi were confused over the years, it could later tie to why Kaido thought he could be Joy Boy as well. The Monkey King made his home on Flower Fruit Mountain. Robin ate the flower fruit. How that ties in, we'll have to wait and see, but the connection is clear. The Monkey King later went on a quest to become immortal, and was trained in specialized breathing techniques by a martial arts master named Subodhi. These techniques transformed the Monkey King into Sun Wukong, and in fact made him immortal. This reflects, in my opinion, Rayleigh teaching Luffy his own version of specialized techniques. And where did Luffy meet Rayleigh? On Subodhi. Subodhi. Oda changed the spelling to reflect the Portuguese word for soap, sabao, to reflect the bubbles on the archipelago, but the connections to Wukong's master make sense to me. Wukong learned 72 techniques from Subodhi, including the ability to transform into any animal and make a clone army from his hair, which is wacky, but could be how the first minks were born, and if all minks are born from Joy Boy's DNA, it could explain why they temporarily gain sun god-like abilities during a full moon. Reminder that moonlight is just reflected sunlight. After 20 years of training, he was kicked out for showboating and sent back to Flower Fruit Mountain, just in time to save the mountain from a Demon King. This is where he made the clone army out of his hair. After fighting the Demon King, he armed his followers with ancient weaponry and trained them in combat. He needed a weapon of his own and traveled to an underwater kingdom where he found what most Dragon Ball fans will remember as the Power Pole, a legendary weapon that can stretch and change size at will. I believe that the Power Pole is an allegory for Luffy's rubber properties. We may not see Joy Boy gain the Power Pole because he can already adjust his size and stretch at will. A section of this story involves him fighting through the underworld, which could refer to Impel Down or foreshadow an element of One Piece we haven't reached yet, but has been alluded to with Brook and the Reaper that Zoro saw during Wano. After causing too much mischief on Earth, Sun Wukong was invited to heaven, so the other gods could keep an eye on him. They eventually gave him the job of watching their garden of peaches that grant immortality if you eat them. Similarly to the Adam and Eve creation story, the Monkey King was not allowed to eat the peaches. He ate all of the peaches. All of them. Was Joy Boy in charge of the Devil Fruit Tree? We'll have to wait and see. But as he continued to anger the gods, he learned that they were holding feasts and banquets without him. So in Luffy-like fashion, he said, "Oh, no, you're not eating without me," and barged in to the Big Bash and started eating and drinking everything in sight, including magical pills that augmented his strength and gave him red eyes. An obvious call to the Arlong-inspired Hody Jones and the Tamate pills, which I have said since 1044 were likely scientifically engineered by the world government or the ancient kingdom to give a fraction of the power of Nika to the armies of the ancient war. Hody Jones ate the Tamate pills, which gave him white hair and red eyes, just like Gear 5 and the Sulong form. Hody also shrivels up after abusing the pills, just like Luffy shrivels up after abusing Gear 5. The connections are there. Been saying it. Eventually, the celestial armies of heaven rained down on Sun Wukong, and he was defeated by Arlong Shen. Yes, Arlong. And he was put before Buddha for trial. He was tasked to somersault off of Buddha's hand, only to learn that Buddha's hand covered all. So by failing the challenge set before him by Buddha, Sun Wukong was imprisoned for centuries inside of a mountain. The way he was drawn in the mountain looks like the way Oda drew Luffy in the sky. When I think of this, it makes me think of how Pluton is inside the giant mountain of Wano, but is it? Could Joy Boy actually be imprisoned inside the borders of Wano? Is freeing the borders the final stage of releasing Joy Boy. I feel like that would contradict Luffy's role in the story, but given Vegapunk said that Emu is still fighting the war from 800 years ago, it could imply that Joy Boy truly isn't dead, unless this is in reference to his soul living on through the fruit, that the immortality Sun Wukong achieved actually permeates through whoever ingests his power. Not to say that Luffy is immortal, but that Sun Wukong is immortal through the fruit, and a part of him could be inside of Luffy. Sun Wukong is later freed from the mountain centuries later, and the events of Journey to the West take place, following an entirely different human character. This could reflect the passing of the torch to Luffy. It will be interesting to see how much of Sun Wukong's origin will be reflected in the Void history going forward, and who knows, maybe this Monkey Mink version of Joy Boy is the eye patch pirate that Oda has been teasing for so long. It should also be noted that Sun Wukong, Hanuman, and Bajrang are all connected, and Luffy's attack that beat Kaido was Bajrang Gun, further tying Wukong to Luffy. Now for the chapter-specific observations. I have to really shout out St. Marcus Mars for playing no games. Saturn was trying to beat snails with a stick. Meanwhile, Oda gave Mars the Conqueror's Dio strut. Ethan Barron also broke the gears this chapter, which could lead to the Seraphim getting freed. But my favorite element of this chapter, my favorite element of 1115, was seeing fake Luffy, Damalo Black, again. He was posted up with fake Sanji, fake Zoro, and fake Frankie, all portraying the Kid Pirates. And if he is portraying Kid, then that might mean that word has spread about his disappearance or defeat by Shanks, considering Damalo was only pretending to be Luffy because he thought he could get away with it, believing the 2-year disappearance to mean he was dead. Now, considering Oda made the fake killer Drip, aka the original fake Sanji, a character we were led to believe was murdered by Caribou, and then also in the same chapter we have in the Mocktown bar, there is somebody who looks very much like Roshio the Executioner, the character that Bellamy killed in his introduction. Oda appears to be back to his old guess who's not dead ways, meaning Kid could return.
Now this might strike some viewers as harsh, but I believe everyone involved in this story should die.
We see Foxy again for the first time in 20 years in full Dick Dastardly glory. What a sight for sore eyes. It would appear he's lost his entire crew outside of Portia and Hamburg. I really hope that becomes plot relevant. I need to know what happened. Miss Golden Week, Miss Merry Christmas, Miss Doublefinger all make an appearance, still wearing essentially what we last saw them in during the Baroque Works cover story. They all seem to be working in or around the new Spider's Cafe still. The scene with Stussy and Kaku is interesting because of how large of a panel Oda draws for Stussy's words of, what will she live for landing on Kaku. This moment is all we really need for a heel turn from Kaku, where, he goes after a normal life at the end of all of this. Depending on the situation, he may even oppose Lucci in the world government at some point, which could be interesting. And lastly, gotta love Queen Vivi shutting up Big News Morgans with the hold up, let him cook. Let Vegapunk cook. There's a lot of that energy going on there. And I love that. And that's going to wrap things up, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks for the support and engagement. I hope you enjoyed the connections made this week. And if you did, it really helps. As you can clearly see with the change that everybody created with the Luffy lineage video, if you leave a like and a comment, it really actually does go a long way. Looking forward to 11/16 as always. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Thanks, guys.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.